this is May Park. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to show you how to create a card using a stencil, ink sprays, embossing paste, and washi tape. So it's kind of a mixed media card, but I promise it's very easy to make. You only gonna need some patience to dry out your embossing paste and ink sprays and do some fast cutting out of these beautiful washi tapes. In this video, I'm gonna show you one and two cards, and it looks kind of complicated to make, but it's not. It's very easy. You just need to follow my instructions and you're gonna find it very easy to make. I hope you guys enjoy my video, and if you haven't done it yet, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you don't miss any new videos from me. So, are you guys ready? And let's get started. This is a set of my mixed media cards featuring Altenew's new washi tapes. I'm going to create background using stencils, embossing paste, and ink sprays to add some texture and interest. Then I will build my own floral arrangements using the floral elements from the washi tapes. I'm also going to make matching envelopes. If you are not good at arranging your floral elements, please keep watching this video as I'll share a few tips and tricks on how to arrange your floral elements and balance them together. As usual, I'm going to share the behind the scenes video at the end to show my messy desk after my project is done. So make sure to watch this video until the end. Before I start, I'm going to give you a quick overview of Altenew's September 2018 release products. If you don't want to watch, feel free to skip this part to jump on the card making process. Now I'm going to turn on some music and I'll be back soon. These are the washi tapes that I'm going to use in today's video. Glitter Florist and Painted Fantasy. These beautiful washi tapes feature watercolor floral elements, and you can use them for creating backgrounds on A2 cards. In this video, I'm going to apply my washi tapes on white cardstock and cut out the floral elements for creating the focal point of my cards. I love getting design ideas from my old cards, especially when I don't have enough time to come up with new ideas. I'm going to start by choosing two stencils from my Altenew stencil collection. Since the design from my washi tapes is already busy with all the floral elements, I'm going to choose the stencils with the simple patterns: grid stencil and sketched line stencil. If your focal point image is plain and simple, you might need to choose the delicate pattern for your stencils. Since I already know I'm going to apply some embossing paste on the background, I'll be using Nina Solo White 100-pound cardstock. I recommend you use heavyweight cardstock so it can hold the weight of embossing paste nicely. I'm cutting down my white cardstock into 4¼ inch by 5½ inches using my Tmools paper trimmer. I'm taping down my panel onto the Altenew watercolor palette. This palette is designed to be used with watercolor paints, but it's also good when you work with the embossing paste as it has a slick surface, so it's easy to clean. I'm going to secure my stencil over the panel using washi tape so the stencil won't move while applying the embossing paste. When it comes to using stencils, I love creating a stenciled background using white embossing paste for creating some texture and dimension. Applying texture paste over the stencil is so much fun, and anyone can make a gorgeous background. Today I'm going to use Ranger texture paste and Nouveau glimmer paste for stenciling. If you don't have texture paste or embossing paste, you can make your own at home. Just Google homemade embossing paste. You can easily find tons of recipes. I made my own embossing paste using baking soda and white acrylic paint a few years ago. It worked fine, but it dried so fast and it didn't smell good. I'll be picking up some paste with my spatula and I'm putting the lid back on the container right away because embossing paste can dry out so quickly. Then I'm going to mix the embossing paste with the glimmer paste. If you don't have a spatula, you can use the plastic knife or expired credit card. I'm applying some embossing paste with a spatula over the stencil toward one direction. You can apply your embossing paste over the entire background or partial area. To make your background more fun and organic, it's important to make a random pattern, not a symmetry pattern. So don't be afraid of applying your embossing paste randomly. You can also mix your embossing paste with coloring mediums like alcohol inks or watercolor paints to create your own colored embossing paste. You can go even further by applying the embossing powder over your texture pasted background and heat emboss it to create extra dimension and texture. If you make a mistake, you can carefully remove the embossing paste with your finger. But once it dries, it's hard to remove, so you might need to use a craft knife instead. When you use the delicate stencil, you better take time to apply your embossing paste, because if you work too fast, you may ruin your project as the embossing paste can smear under the stencil. So here's the most fun part. I'm going to lift the stencil straight up off my panel to reveal the stenciled image. It's hard to see in the video, but the background looks absolutely gorgeous with all the glitters in real life. Once you remove the stencil, I recommend you clean off your work surface and spatulas right away, otherwise you'll have trouble taking off the embossing paste once it's dry. To add interest on my background, I'm going to splatter the background with Altenew sprays, jet black and gold metallic. This splatter technique is a bit random but can create some very fun results. But you can leave the background clean without ink sprays if you want. If you want to create more contoured small splatters, you could pick up the ink from the ink spray bottle using a small paintbrush and tap the body of your paintbrush with your fingers. Make sure to dry the previous splatters using a heat tool before you add the next splatters using a different color to avoid the colors mixing up together. Once my background is done, I'm going to set my panels aside for about 10 to 20 minutes to let them air dry. That way, my splatters will dry so beautifully without breaking out. However, you can use the heat tool to speed up the drying time. While drying my panels, I'll be working on my focal images. I'm going to apply my washi tapes on a sheet of Nina Solo White 80-pound cardstock and cut out the floral elements using my scissors. I'm leaving some white areas around the edge of my images. If you don't like fussy cutting, I recommend you choose the large floral cluster image. That way, you will save the time cutting out the images and you can easily arrange your elements on your card front. As I mentioned earlier, I'm making a set of 2 cards. My first card featuring the painted fantasy washi tape is the easy one, so I will need only 2 large clusters of the floral elements. My second card, featuring the glitter florist washi tape, is a bit advanced with lots of clusters. So you have to think about which element you are going to use while cutting out your images from the washi tape. I'm keeping my flower cuts in a small tray and roughly building the floral arrangement along the way, so I know if I need to cut out more images to build my floral arrangement. It took me about 1 hour to cut out all of the floral images, but it was therapeutic in some way, as my brain was relaxing without thinking. By the way, I was listening to the audiobook while fussy cutting. Once my fussy cutting is done, I'm going to mount my stenciled panel on the A2 size top folding white card base using double-sided tape. You could use glue tape if you want, but strong adhesive like this double-sided tape helps your embossing paste panel flat and sturdy. Next, I'm mounting my floral elements on the card front using 3M foam tape to build my own floral arrangement. I'm also using tonic Nouveau crystal glaze, as 3M foam tape is not strong enough to attach my paper on the embossing paste. You can trim off the leaves if they don't look good with the entire design. You can reuse them to fill in the gaps between the elements. For my second card, I'm setting the placement of my large cluster images first to help me decide the placement for the rest of the images. To find the perfect placement for each element, you need to take some time to play around with your images. Just move and rotate your elements and see if they look good each other. Don't forget to think about matching the colors and shapes as well. It doesn't look good to have the same color or shape next to each other. Since my second card has lots of floral elements, I'm going to double mount for some of the elements using 3M foam tape to add various dimensions. Now I finished my floral arrangements and it's time to open my sentiment. I'm going to pull out the sentiment stems from a few different stem sets as I wasn't sure which sentiment would go with my card designs. You could use a regular acrylic block for stamping if you want to. Since I'll be stamping a few sentiments at once, I'm going to use my original Misty stamping tool. I'm prepping a piece of black cardstock with anti-stick powder bag to remove any moisture, static, and oils. This step helps prevent any stray powder from sticking to unwanted areas. Then I'm going to ink up the stamps with Altenew embossing ink and stamp the sentiments on the paper. While the ink is still wet, I'm going to sprinkle some Altenew pure white embossing powder over the sentiments and tap the excess powder off my paper. If you have any stray powder left on your paper, you can use a dry paintbrush and piercing tool to flick away. Then I'm going to heat set my sentiments with heat tool until the embossing powder is completely melted. I trimmed my sentiments into thin banners using craft knife and ruler. I'll be mounting the sentiment banner on the card front using a 3M foam tape to give some dimension. I'm using my T-square ruler to place my sentiment banner in straight. By the way, I ended up using the sentiment from the Blessings stamp set. I decided to create a matching envelope as well. I'm applying the washi tape on the flap of my white envelope and cutting out the excess washi tape with my scissors. This is it for today. This video is part of Altenew September 2018 washi tape release blog hub. Be sure to check out my blog for more details and leave a comment on my blog hub post for a chance to win a $30 gift certificate to the Altenew online store. If you have any questions, please leave comments below and I will be happy to answer them for you. I hope this video tutorial inspires you to create a mixed media card using a stenciling technique. If you enjoyed my video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. And I do love it if you subscribe to my YouTube channel so you don't miss any new videos from me. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time with another video. Bye bye! So this is kind of mixed media project, but I promise it's very easy to make. And okay. Should I continue? Okay. Okay. Hello guys! Into it. So let's dive in. So let's get started.